Ahora, comenzamos con la participación de Michael Steger, quien impartirá la conferencia Trabajo Significativo, colaboradores involucrados y con propósito de vida. Michael Steger, director del Laboratorio para el Estudio del Significado y la Calidad de Vida de la Universidad de Colorado, profesor de Psicología Social, experto en temas de bienestar y significado de la vida, autor de Propósito y Sentido de Vida en el Trabajo y coautor de Psicología Positiva y Enfoque en Fortalezas en el Trabajo, editor asociado del Journal de Psicología de la Personalidad. Ha dedicado su vida profesional a la investigación de los beneficios de vivir una vida significativa y entender el valor del trabajo en nuestra visión de vida. Desarrolló instrumentos de medición sobre el propósito de vida y el trabajo significativo. Démosle la bienvenida con un fuerte aplauso.
Buenos dias. Oh, good. People are awake. This is good. A good start. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm going to be talking, as you can see, about meaningful work. And the first question I guess I have is, how do we define work? Because some of the most meaningful things that I've seen happen are when people have reached out to try to help, to try to make a difference, to try to heal. And I know that's been happening in a lot of different ways here in Mexico over the last several weeks. And I want to say that as an American, I am very grateful to the support that we received from Mexico after we had hurricanes, and that the American people like me, are here with you after earthquakes and hurricanes, regardless of what our president says or doesn't say. He's one man, not personally the person I choose as my role model, but we are together, and we do know what Mexican people are doing and facing, and we want to be in your journey with you too. So we care, and we are inspired by what you are doing to try to heal after so many tough times have happened. I was going to start with a joke. I practiced my joke yesterday. We'll talk about character strengths at a certain point in my talk, and I have the strength of humor. And I am here to show that the strength of humor does not mean you're funny. It just means you like to try to be funny. So this was going to be my joke. I won't really tell it. I'll just pretend to tell it. So you don't have to laugh, and then I don't have to feel bad if you don't laugh. So I was going to say, yes, there's been a lot of talk about building a wall between our two countries. And at first, the wall was going to be built by Mexico. And now you're probably wishing you'd done that because of Americans. But I'm here to tell you, don't worry. Everything with the Trump name is made in China, after all. Okay, yay, my one fan. Thank you, fan. And if that didn't work, I was going to bring out a bunch of paper towels and just start throwing them, because that really helps. Okay, but moving on, I'm talking about meaningful work and what we do when we try to help, when we try to reach out, when we try to make a life worth living. In some ways, all of that is work. And why put extra pressure on it? Why talk about meaningful work? Because what we're experiencing now around the world and what Mexico has experienced since September 19 is what life is. It's both very, very hard sometimes and very, very inspiring. Other times it's very boring. Life is just a mix. And we have only so much life energy in us before our journey here on this planet is over. Right? Whether you believe in an afterlife or not, this is our one chance together, right here, right now, to live our lives. And it's not something we should waste. Whether we're at work or whether we're with our families, whether we're by ourselves, it's not something we should waste. So meaning and purpose are ways to turn our experiences into something that we don't waste. So why meaningful work? Because life is already hard enough sometimes. Why make work hard? Why not make work something that builds happiness, that builds the lives that we want to live? And I think about meaning all the time. Us meaning people, when we're not trying to make jokes, are usually pretty depressing. We're thinking about our little lives in the huge universe. And this is the question: are you really here, this precious moment of life in the universe, just to push papers around and feel swamped by work? I say no. You're here to live a fantastic, amazing life for yourself and for others. And work shouldn't prevent that. Work should facilitate that. Dilbert is an American cartoon strip that is a chronicle of all the different ways that work is terrible. So here we have, I completed my assignment, and yet I feel no sense of accomplishment. Could it be because nothing I do makes any difference in the world? And then Dilbert's boss says, I was going to tell you that, but I didn't want to demotivate you. Why would we go to work? And in our lives, we want to make a difference in the world, but at work, we shut off that part of our spirit. That's what we're trying to say. And when we shut off that part of our spirit, sometimes we forget that our jobs make a difference. Okay, so Americans, we're not the best at knowing about the world, even though we try to tell the world what to do. We oftentimes have no idea what's going on. So this was an American news story. It's very sad. Giant hornets killed 42 people in China. Does anyone see a problem with the way this story is being reported? That's not China on the map. You can see how she's very upset. She's got the right expression. This is the expression she is to make when such terrible things happen. But no one really cared enough to get the story right. So when we're at work and we don't care, work misses that human touch. So that's what we're trying to do with meaningful work. How do we bring ourselves to our work in ways that show that we care? No one wants to waste their time. Hopefully you don't feel like you're wasting your time right now, but no one wants to waste an hour at work in a meeting that goes nowhere. No one wants to waste a day at work when they could have spent that with their family. And no one wants to waste their lives doing pointless things. Meaningful work is not a waste of time. Meaningful work feels worthwhile. It feels worth us doing. We care. It takes the best parts of us and brings us into the world in a way that tries to make a difference. We feel excited, we feel alive when we're at work, and we're doing it in a meaningful way, and we invest ourselves in what we're doing. We bring ourselves truly to our work because our work isn't something separate from our lives. It's actually an important part of our lives, and we don't have to apologize for that. Now, if we look at the theory of meaningful work that I typically work from, it starts at one little center. Work should have a legitimate function. When you're at work, you should be doing something that actually contributes in some way and isn't just running around in circles. So we've done surveys with hundreds and hundreds of people. We've read so many articles. You are happy you don't have to read yourself. And this is what we find, that if you think that your work has no point, it isn't meaningful to you. If you think that someone could train a dog to do that work, or no one's ever going to look at it, you fill out the report and it immediately gets thrown in the garbage, that work doesn't feel legitimate. It doesn't support meaningful work. Now, assuming that what you're actually doing with your time is building a sense that you're doing something, then the next step that we move to is work that resonates with your life meaning. Again, work isn't separate from life. There's no such thing as work-life balance anymore. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's no work-life balance. Work and life are like this now. Some of you are at work right now. Some of you are trying to engage your life. Some of you maybe are here with family. Some of you, when you go on your next holiday or your next time with family, will be checking your work email. Work is everywhere, all throughout our life. We can't put work in one place and then put life in the other place. We have to achieve harmony. So meaningful work tells us that we can achieve harmony between work and life if we understand our purpose in life and help achieve some sort of harmony with what we do at work. So I had 2 consecutive jobs after college. One was working for the Koch petroleum industry. They process oil. I was working specifically at asphalt plant for road paving. The very next job I had was going door to door for an organization called Greenpeace, where I was fighting against petroleum companies. Only one of those really would match my life values, probably, right? You can guess whichever one you want, but those are different jobs doing different things. One of them resonated with my life meaning, the other didn't. One of them felt more meaningful, the other didn't. So when we get work that can actually help build our life purpose, we feel like that's a meaningful thing to do with our days. And finally, work from a meaningful context isn't just about clocking in at the office, going home, clocking out. Hitting our sales targets, hitting our revenue numbers, getting face-to-face contacts, making the right number of calls, paving the right number of miles or kilometers. Meaningful work reaches beyond what we do with our time at work to how that ripples out into society around us. Some of the easy occupations we think about when we think about meaningful work: nurses, teachers, firefighters, rescue people. We know that their jobs make a difference around us, but so many different types of jobs make a difference. It's almost unimaginable now in a modern world to think about not making a difference to each other because we're so interconnected. But we need to recognize when we make a difference to other people, whether it's because we're keeping a particular area clean. Maybe you work or you know someone who works as a cleaner at a hospital. In the United States, almost 100,000 people die every year from infections they got in the hospital, which means that the people who clean hospitals might be more important for health than the doctors and surgeons. This is what I mean about thinking how your work helps the greater good. We have to see that we can connect, and that gives us more power to do more with our jobs. Now, the way that these things work is actually like an upside-down pyramid. That it's easier to start off with this idea that when I go to work, I'm not wasting my time. I have a job to do. I'm not just sitting in a booth waiting for life to happen, waiting for my shift to be over. When we rest our time on good to-do things, then we can then rest our meaning in life on top of our work. And when we can do that, then we can start spreading out and branching out into all these other wonderful things that we'd like to do with our lives. And then we see how our work helps us do that. I'm more or less a professor these days. I started off wanting to be a psychotherapist. I wanted to help people through counseling. It wasn't a good fit for me over time. I began to get exhausted from that work. So now I work really hard to try to make a difference by giving energy to other people who directly face each other. I am grateful for opportunities like this to take what I've learned and try to put it in the hands of people who can really make a difference in the world. It's important to me that I keep making differences, but I have to do it in a particular way that makes the best use of my abilities. So everything rests on me not wasting time at work, me aligning my work with my life meaning, and me trying very hard to make a difference as broadly as I can. So if you're wondering, should I bother with meaningful work? I can say yes, you should bother with meaningful work. The research now is several hundred studies, which is nice, since it's only been going on for about 10 years now. And we can say that we have personal factors that lead us to meaningful work, whether that's our values or our strengths or inspiration that we draw from other people. There are workplace factors. Maybe you can think of a company right now that just is doing good in the world, and maybe you can think of a company now that seems to be doing bad in the world. Workplace factors that really humanize us, that give us the sense that they care about who we are and what we bring to our companies. Those factors make meaningful work better. And again, fit is a big issue. For me, fit as a psychotherapist was not good. I could do it for 5 years, but I couldn't do it for 50, so I needed to find something new. Then we've got our little circles that represent meaningful work. Those factors create meaningful work, and then meaningful work kicks out all these desirable benefits in terms of performance, commitment, and well-being. And I've listed some on this next slide. A partial list of the benefits of meaningful work that we've shown through research so far. Job satisfaction, career commitment, greater motivation that comes from deep within you and is sustainable. A greater sense of meaning in life, so it works both ways. We use our strengths, we experience flow, we develop ourselves more, we're more engaged at work. We do all these great things. Our supervisors think we do better, our teammates think we do better, we produce more, we're less depressed, we're less hostile, which means we're more fun to work around, and we're more fun when we go back home as well. So meaningful work is part of the good life. It's part of the good life. Work as a way to have a better life. So who here would consider they're engaged in some form of work? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe this is paid work. Does anyone volunteer? Is anyone paid to do a job? I really honestly thought everyone raised their hands. Okay, well, maybe you don't have work, but we've got two models. The SPIRE model is your individual sort of recipe list for how to get more meaning in your work. And who here has employees that report to him or her? Or runs a company, is a manager, supervisor? Okay, so the karma model is for you. How do you create the conditions where other people will get meaning out of their work because they're working for you? And you can see that karma is like a cycle. And it's like the notion of karma where our actions have repercussions that come back to us. So SPIRE is what we're reaching for in our own work, and in karma, you reap what you sow. If you create meaningful conditions, you get meaningful work out of it. So we're going to start with the way that these two work. So from leaders' standpoint, you're trying to create the conditions for karma that will all of your employees have a chance to experience. And from SPIRE, you're working from the ground up. So from karma, you're creating the right soil where certain people will be able to find meaning in their work with you. For SPIRE, you're just trying to thrive wherever you can. Maybe you can't exactly shape your job. Maybe you can't take a new job, but you can do some things internally and the way that you work with other people to increase the likelihood that work will be meaningful for you. So we're going to dig in a little bit, and this is the quick list, but the way I'm going to go do this is another thing I'm not good at besides humor is drawing, but that didn't stop me from drawing all these little models. So we're going to actually see stick figure stories about SPIRE and about karma. But SPIRE, as a preview, is strengths. Know and use your strengths at work. Personalization, bring a sense of who you really are to work. Integration, make sure there's harmony and a good link between what you do at work and what your life is all about, your life purpose. Resonance, find a way that what the company does makes a difference to you personally. And finally, expansion. Look for all the different ways that you can reach out beyond yourself to affect and to benefit the greater good. This is what we're going to be looking at. This is a little storyboard for meaningful work, for the SPIRE model. And you can see it's a little person who goes to work for Acme Company, experiences certain things, balances life, and tries to make a difference in the world. So first, strengths. We have two characters, strengths and not strengths. When we don't use our strengths, it's harder work. It's harder for us to do our work. We feel exhausted. We feel depleted. When we use our strengths, we're using the best parts of ourselves. When we go into a situation, we feel excited because we get to do something we're looking forward to. When we use those strengths, we actually feel like we're gaining momentum at work, not that we're constantly fighting uphill. So we want to bring the best of ourselves to the work that we do. Maybe this is a strength of heart, where we're really kind people, we're loving people, we're compassionate people. Maybe there's strengths of the mind. We like to plan. We like to learn. We're very curious. Maybe there's strengths of society, where we're great at leadership, where we care about fairness and justice, where we want to keep everything balanced. Whatever it is, within each of us is a different array of strengths. And if we don't bring those to work, work is not using the best part of ourselves. It just makes us tired. So we send our little strong person to work, and it's not just about him or her. It's about all of us. This is a human tower in Spain. It's just one way in which strengths are best when we contribute them. Strengths aren't about boasting or bragging or being narcissistic or having a big ego. Strengths are just about trying to do and trying to contribute in the best way that we can. So I'm quite tall. You maybe can't tell from there. I'm about 2 meters tall, about 6'6". So I'm better at changing light bulbs than I am at changing the oil in a car. So some strengths come more naturally to me. So when I contribute, I would be a pretty bad person to be at the top of this tower, but I wouldn't mind being at the bottom, right? So we can all figure out how to contribute. And strengths are about the best way to contribute. It's not about hiding or hoarding or feeling great about ourselves. It's looking forward to chances to contribute. So when our strong worker goes to Acme Company, our strong worker is bringing something to give, bringing something to share, bringing something to contribute. So at Acme Company, they have one of those very, very boring corporate missions. We do good. Now, we're going to believe this for today, okay? We're going to believe that there are companies that really, really passionately want to do good. If we personalize ourselves and we bring ourselves to Acme, we are invested. So this person is all in. I'm all in. I'm here to work. I'm invested. When you see me, I will be present. I will care. I will be trying for all the right reasons. And I'm going to gain additional inspiration because I'm working for a company that tries to do something. It tries to do good. Or maybe you work for a company that's looking ahead towards the future. How are we going to get broadband internet access to all the world's population? Right? That essentially is, let's say, part of Facebook's purpose is to connect the world. Maybe that's something you feel passionate about. Maybe what you're really excited about is bringing new ways to old industries to help them innovate and stay competitive. Whatever it is, if you can figure out what your company is about, then you can use that as a source of strength. You can get behind what your company is trying to do. You feel proud to be a part of that group then. You resonate with that company's mission. In this case, Acme says we do good, and our strong worker, she says, I can get fired up to do good too. I like that. Now, if our strong worker has strong values to do good and is working at Evil Corporation, and their motto is, we just make money even if it hurts other people, that's not going to feel meaningful. She can't resonate with this message. So this is sort of the person's journey into work. I bring the best of myself, I fully invest and I align my values and my personality, my sense of who I am and what my life's all about, and I link it to what this company's trying to do, and then I care. When I work, I work not because I'm being paid more than a different company, not because the benefit package is better, not because my boss will yell at me, not because I'm being threatened to be fired if I don't do my job. It's because doing my job really matters to me. I care. I want to help. I want to make a difference. I want to do good. Now, work and life do not operate independently. So in this case, at Acme, a different Acme facility, this worker gets a call. Life is intruding into work all the time. We take stressors from things that happen in the world around us. We take stressors from things that happen in our families. We take stressors and things that happen in our relationships. We bring them to work, and we bring work home with us. It's happening back and forth. Somehow we have to integrate all this. So this is just a gesture that says, okay, I'll be right home. I got a call. I have to leave. If you're hiring meaningful workers, and if you're doing meaningful work, you're going to get the job done, not because you're supposed to work for 10 hours that day, but because doing that job matters to you. So maybe this worker runs home, and she has to deal with a particular incident that occurred at home, and that interrupts her day. But she also cares about getting that job done, completing that project, doing well, so she's going to do it when she's finished. And the organization recognizes that those sorts of flexible work hours are there not just as a retention competition package, but they're because that's how people can work best then. When they're feeling that they can be focused on work, then they're focused on work. If they're divided and they have to do other things, they're not going to work as efficiently. So then we have our person who can see how important work is, but also know that that has to fit in with the rest of life as well. And finally, the most amazing thing about organizations, the most obvious, but also the most amazing things, is that it's multiple individuals working for some common set of causes. Hopefully those causes are noble and we can all care about them, but it's not that often outside of work when we really feel like we're coming together with people to do one particular thing. I know when tragedy strikes, we feel that way. When families need something, maybe when churches need something, social groups and this sort of thing. But work is one place where people with lots of different ideas come together to do a common set of things. If those common set of things can also help the world, then that feels really, really meaningful for us. We make a difference. We achieve some greater good through working with other people. Yes, we can write a check to Food for the Poor. We can write a check to Doctors Without Borders. We can volunteer to dig wells, to give people fresh water. That's us. Again, we're working with other people, but what if every single day when we go to work, we know that we're improving life for lots of people because we're working in partnership with other people who similarly care? That's the vision for meaningful work. And then it doesn't matter what kind of work you do, really, because you can see that you work with someone to make something good happen. You built a house. You created affordable clothing. You were able to increase the efficiency of distribution of goods, which means that more people can get the things that they need. Whatever it is, you're coming together, working with people to do something that feels important. So, in the SPIRE model, we bring our best selves to work. We invest and align our work with our values. We own a piece of the company mission, which means we act like an owner at work and we caretake. We put paper back in the printer. We don't steal yogurt, these sorts of things. And we harmonize work with what's important to us. And through work, we grow the scope of what we can do in our lives. For some of us, our biggest impact that we'll have in life on the world around us will be through work. That's a huge opportunity for us to take. So what meaningful work looks like, bringing our strengths, our values, our sense of passion, and our better nature to the work around us. And I had an experience that was, in a very small way, but very important way, like that for me. It's not this hotel, it was a different one in Mexico. Senor Steger, welcome to Fiesta Americana Grande. We are proud to have you with us, your housekeeper, thank you, with stickers. Handwritten, just left there. For me to know that one person walking through wanted me to know this piece of information. It's the only time that this has happened to me. I've had the cards, where it says the company printed out, "We're so proud to have you," and then someone signs it. That's nice too, but this was created by this person who comes into the room, keeps a hotel comfortable, inviting, a place to work, a place not to feel so lonely away from family, and made an experience, for me, that felt very personal. Linked me to the brand, of course. I feel better about Fiesta Americana than the other ones that I've never gotten a note like this before. This one person doing one little thing that felt so genuine, right? Makes a little bit of difference to me and every customer that she touches. And just think about the day that she had. It's hard to imagine her putting this sticker up there without a smile on her face. It could happen, yes. If it was me, I'd probably be all, is this the right spot? Will they misinterpret if I put a crab? I'm not saying they're a crab. I overthink these things, right? But I feel like this is a glimpse into someone who's really doing incredible work in her job and doing something that's meaningful. So I kept this. I keep this forever. I'm really proud to have been a part of that experience. Now, if we shift gears, is there something special in this specific case about that hotel chain that enables someone like the housekeeper to feel either empowered or inspired to reach out like that? Right? That makes us a little vulnerable when we reach out and say, I'm proud to serve you in whatever capacity I do. I think that these factors, clarity, authenticity, respect, conveying a sense that everyone matters in an organization, and allowing some autonomy are the factors that organizations can do to make it more likely that notes like that amazing workers will be done. And of course, I've got another bad drawing for you with Acme Corporation. So this is our sort of image of Acme Corporation. There's global headquarters, and there's north, south, and central branches. There's all these people working there. But let's take a look at what karma would look like in an organization. So at global headquarters, we have a bunch of people in the C-suite. They're planning. They've got their sense of mission. We do good. That's great. What does that mean? What does that mean if you're a worker at the very entry level? How do you onboard someone to care about that mission? How do you evaluate whether you are actually doing good or not? Exactly what kind of good do you expect people to be doing while they work versus as the company as a whole? So the clarity has to be conveyed. What is special about Acme doing good? What does that look like? Are you going to do every kind of good in the world? Are you just going to say you're doing good? So in this case, the leader is saying, we do good through A, B, C, D, E, etc. She's thought about it. She's conveying this clearly. She's taking a stand. She's making sure that people know how here at Acme, everyone has a way to do good. Okay? So taking responsibility for conveying with clarity what the mission of the organization is. Now, sometimes I chose a bad example here, right? The chief financial officer was not a good fit for our organization. The CFO was not truly trying to do good. Yes, the CFO said we're trying to do good when someone stuck a microphone in her face or his face, but it wasn't a good fit. Fantastic CFO. We'll be great at a different company, but that's not us. That's okay too. We don't have to beg and grovel to have the best talent come work for us if it's not a good fit. We'll attract people who want to do good work with us because everyone knows what it's like to come work for Acme. So sometimes authenticity means you have to say when people are not a good fit. But as a leader, you can't be a liar and say we care about honesty. You can't manipulate and say we care about integrity. The core value, has anyone heard of a company called Enron? Enron spectacularly imploded after faking hundreds of millions of dollars of pretend revenue for years in the energy sector. Their core values were honesty, openness, integrity, and respect. Look it up if you don't believe me. That's what they said in interviews. That's what they said on their website before they stole hundreds of millions of dollars from people, stranded people without a pension after working there for 30 years, right? So if it's not authentic, it doesn't matter at all. Now, if we move along, we look at respect. In a culture that involves people working together, having good skills to work together are critical. So you could call this lots of different things. You could call this relating to each other. You could call this positive relationships, connection, belonging. The temptation when we hear those words is that everyone has to be friends at Acme. Acme will be just fine if no one is a friend. That puts too high of a bar, and it also opens the door to problems. How do you fire your friend? How do you promote someone else above your friend? Let's just start with respect. Every person has dignity. Every person has the right to anticipate being treated with respect. And respect is something you can show. You don't have to show friendship by like putting your arm around somebody and asking about how the dog is, or did you get that new roof on your house, whatever it is that people try to do to be like friendly boss. If that's you, that's great. That's not everybody, but you can be respectful. You can learn how to respect someone, and then you model that to everyone who works in your organization. Respect is the foundation for all of the rest of good relating to other people. So here we have an example. You make a good point. I hear what you said. Here's my view. We'll just discuss this. I'm not going to browbeat you. And then all these things, clarity of mission, authenticity, and respect, they filter out into Acme North, Acme South, and Acme Central. By the time we get there, then, people are equipped to show how they respect other people. People are honest. They act with integrity. They can be who they are at your organization because you've shown that you care about people. You've shown that you have a mission. You've shown that you're not going to accept toxic people who get good sales numbers if they don't fit with the organization. So you're walking the talk. So they can go to your mid-level managers or even coworkers or even people who report to you can say ways in which that you matter or they matter. You have an important job. What you do at your job helps us achieve our mission. You may not see this all the time, but you matter. Here's how. You do A, you do B, you do C, you do D. That helps us come together to do good at Acme. People spend a lot of money recruiting and hiring. They should also spend a lot of time making sure their employees that they spend a lot of money hiring know that they're important. You create a position that says it's important. Now make sure that the person who's in that position knows why it's important as well. So we give everyone a sense that they matter. And finally, within some bounds, for work to feel meaningful, it has to feel like our work. For my work to feel meaningful, it has to feel like me doing that job. That I'm not a robot, that I'm not a sheep, that I'm not just an extension of someone else doing the job, that it's actually me doing that job. I need to have some autonomy. Maybe not all the autonomy in the world. We don't want, for instance, brain surgeons to necessarily feel like they can do whatever they want once they get your head open. Some things need to be done precisely. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about freelancing. When I talk to companies, a lot of times their idea of autonomy is what we think would happen if teenagers had our house alone. Right? Crazy wild parties, no one doing any work, people throwing paper towels. Oh wait, that was our president. Right? We think people will go nuts and abuse the opportunity they've been given to put their mark on their work. Why would you hire anybody if you thought that if you didn't control them every minute of the day, they'd drive a motorcycle through the office? or they would wear no pants, or whatever you think would happen if there was autonomy. People are adults most of the time working with you. When we give people autonomy, we should expect that they'll act like adults with that autonomy. They'll bring the best of themselves to work with you. They think they fit. You've shown they matter. They believe in you because you're honest and authentic and have integrity, and they care about the mission of what's going on there. They'll try to do a good job. They might not always succeed. There's a lot of trial and error. But companies are too big. The world moves too fast now. You can't command and control at every position in the changing face of work. We need people all throughout our organizations to be able to detect problems, to try solutions, and to work together in free-flowing ways to fix what's broken and to find new opportunities. You can only do that if you allow people a little bit of autonomy. So if we encapsulate what karma's about then, you have to speak very clearly to what your company's about, what your mission is, what your organization is, so that people know. Establish a clear vision and a mission and speak to it. Embody that. Embody good values of integrity, of ethics. Model good relationships with everybody. Show how every person in your organization matters. You pay them money. You can at least let them know they matter beyond that. And ignite creativity through self-direction. Standing up, standing tall for your values. Standing tall for integrity and dignity. Standing tall for each other. It's a lot easier to find pictures of animals looking noble than it is of people. I don't know why. But let's take a real quick look at what this looks like in real life. Has anyone ever worked as a window washer? I'm going to pretend a couple of you have. I don't really know. This is a window washer. This is not a safe way to wash windows. If this person works for your company, you've got some liability issues on your hands, probably. But I can make it so much worse. Now is it a little scarier? Who knows what the pressures are, or the lack of training was, or the lack of support or supervision, or whatever it is that's happening here with window washing. But I'm really fascinated by window washing. Right? It's an amazing job. It's one we don't think about very often. But basically, are people cleaning to the outside of our buildings, looking in at us, cleaning our windows in places where we can't just open the windows and clean it ourselves usually. Although this guy has figured out a way to do that. But it can be so much more also. Is anyone familiar with this story? It's at a children's hospital. Some window washers, again, a job maybe we don't think very much about, unless you're strange like I am, working at a children's hospital for Halloween in Alabama, which as an American is a little bit of a surprising place for this innovation to occur. It shows that great ideas come from everywhere. It's not New York City, it's not San Francisco, it's Huntsville, Alabama. They thought, hey, we're out here anyways, dangling by ropes. What if we pretend we're superheroes? And you can see what happens when little sick kids think that they're superheroes outside their windows. It's the same job. They're wearing costumes is the only difference. But if you are familiar with hospital administrators, a big part of that job is risk abatement. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in a hospital that can be very costly in terms of time, in terms of people's lives, in terms of money. But some administrators somewhere said, you know what, we're the type of hospital where people can take chances. Let's see what happens. Maybe someone, I actually know personally people who feel like Halloween is devil worship. This happens in the United States, right? So you could have people who feel like their religious beliefs were trampled on. You could think people think it's unsafe. All these sorts of problems could happen, but they gave autonomy to these workers, and it grew. Multiple hospitals do this now. And so when these sick little kids and their families are in the hospitals, they're not just seeing clean windows, which is fantastic. They're seeing superheroes show up and say, you can do this. You can get better. I know you've got needles in your arms today. I know you used to be able to walk and you can't today. I know you see mom and dad crying a lot. Today doesn't have to be like that, though. Maybe tomorrow doesn't have to be like that either, right? So someone puts a costume on, does a different job, opens themselves up to that role. The whole organization says, you know what, let's see if this works. It could go very bad. Someone could get distracted, all sorts of things could happen. But let's take a risk. Let's do something a little bit bigger. Let's expand our scope of what we're trying to do, broaden our horizons, really show that we can matter at every level of this job working for this company. So in real life, we do see things like this happen. And so hopefully it brings together Spire and Karma. You create an organization from the top down where people can really bring the best of themselves to work for you. They'll care, they'll invest. Working for you, working with you is part of what makes their lives meaningful. Of course they'll do a good job. Of course they'll care. Of course they'll be happy. Of course people working with that person are going to be happy. Customers are going to be happy. Your vendors will be happier. Your distributors will be happier. Your international partners will be happier, right? Or you can try to build meaningful work from the ground up. You're going to be that person. You're going to be the person who writes the note and puts the sticker and leaves it in the hotel room and makes a difference to somebody that you might never meet, right? So this is how it works. This is how we expand what work can be. Work can actually be the biggest instrument and the biggest expression of what's best about us. It doesn't have to be the place where we go and we set aside the best of us, and we set aside our hopes and dreams for our lives, and we just wait for the weekend. So thank you very much for listening. I was told I could ask for 2 questions, if people have them.
Muchas gracias, Michael. Ahora damos inicio a una sesión de preguntas. Les pedimos que de una manera ordenada se dirijan hacia los micrófonos y nuestros anfitriones les indicarán su turno. Solamente se dará paso a 2 participaciones. Les agradecemos que sean breves en sus preguntas.
Para todos nuestros participantes que nos acompañan de forma remota, tenemos activas las cuentas de Twitter @TecMilenio y @ICFelicidad. Y te los invitamos también a utilizar los hashtags Tiempos de Cambio y Soy TecMilenio.
No questions? I'm not scary. Are you waving to friends, or do you have a question?
I have one. Hi.
Awesome. Yay. Round of applause for the first question guy.
Me first. Do you want to go first? Okay. Well, nice to meet you. Thank you for your talk. Well, in this talk, you just explained to us this Karma and Spire. It's mostly for workers, but I'm still a student. I'm going to be for a little while more. So could you help me translate a little for me as a student? Please.
Yes. So the question is, let's say that this same issue would be relevant to someone who's thinking about a career change, or someone who's thinking about retiring from one job and going to another, or someone who needs to keep working long after they thought they'd retired because of financial needs. But students, if you are thinking about having meaningful work someday, you've already kind of created something fantastic, because there's a lot of emphasis on get a good job, make a good living. That's very important. We don't want to deny that. So what I would say is you can use Spire, for example, when you think about what directions you want to point yourself. And part of Spire, if you think about the integrate part, is understanding your own life purpose, understanding your strengths and values, and your passions. So when I work with people just to help identify a life purpose, a lot of times we'll talk about strengths, values, passions, and then team or tribe, right? So who are you? What do you care about? What gets you excited? And then who are you a part of? So thinking about what your strengths are, for me, did not lead to a career as a comedian, right? My better strengths were love of learning, for instance. My values, I really wanted to help. I thought I'd be a psychotherapist, but I had to recognize when fit wasn't quite right and look for other ways. My passions, I'm really passionate about trying to help people who want to do big things in the world, even though I don't always do them myself, right? So you start to get a sense of what you want to focus on. For me, my team, it's weird. I think of my team as anybody out there who's trying to make a difference. So that meant I was going to make different types of decisions for my own life. So if you can think about, if you can envision yourself, what does it look like, a good day of work for you in 10 years? Right? What parts of you are you using? What values are you serving? Who are you working with? Like, then you can sort of reverse engineer back to, you starting right now to try to use those same exact things in your studies, or maybe becoming more involved with student groups. And then karma is a way to look for who's a good employer down the road. Like, where will you really feel like they respect what you want to do with your life? Is that close?
Well, yes, it was like a really open question, but I'm interested in this because I want to collaborate in making things work better. And, well, I try to use my strengths, but I barely know them, and it feels like I want to do everything. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but, well, thanks for your advice and all your talks. It was really nice.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for sharing with us what you showed us. I work in a small company. We're 10 people, and we have been in the market for about 28 years. And some 6 years ago, we defined the purpose of our company to create solutions to enjoy life. But that's a saying. I mean, making it happen, it's quite a task. So my question is very simple. It's where can we find material like the one you showed us? I mean, download it or purchase it so we can communicate it to other people and disperse it along our organization and further.
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. I'm gonna tackle that in two different ways. The first way is that you've identified a real disconnect, right, between what we're told to do, start with why. Okay, got the why, now what? Right? We need a purpose and a mission, but how do we implement these sorts of things? And it's almost like it's a slightly different skill set. So if you really want to, if you're converting, so you've got a mission that I think people can get behind, unless they don't know what you mean by it, right, or what it looks like, right? And I think that's the case for a lot of places. You look at hospitals, you look at social organizations, universities, all these sorts of things. Everyone comes at, like, there's rebranding in American university space all the time, even though they all do sort of like the same thing. So if it's just rebranding, you'll hit that sort of, that big gap, right? So how do you implement? The way that we approach this, and I have a strategic venture with a company. We're developing the Meaningful Work Lab. And we don't come with a cookie cutter set of solutions, right? Because what will work for your company might not work for a company at a different stage of development, might not work for a startup, might not work for a manufacturing firm, might not work for something else, right? So we begin with saying, look, there's two ways to do this. One, you can do the little things that will make a difference, but two, it's a strategic change that you're looking at, right? And it's going to be finding different ways to apply the skills you have and identifying some of the new ones. So the most important thing, so that's one place you can look as we develop that Meaningful Work Lab. I mean, it really is a lab. You come in, we work together for a full day and figure out what this is going to look like and then support over time. Because we got measurement solutions, all these sorts of things you can do, but what's the most important is what does it look like? When you and the leadership say, we want to create this new kind of life, this happier life, this more fun life, what do you mean by that? And what do people need to know in their mindset when they come to work with you? What do you need to know in terms of identifying whether you're on course or not? How are you going to select and recruit talent? How are you going to convey supervisor ratings? How are you going to track whether someone's doing a good job? These things are personal to the company. In a weird way, they're personal, right? So they're very specific to the company. And they should come from where leadership can invest in. I can come in and say whatever I want. I can say, oh, everyone has to wear jeans. right? Everyone should be able to have free snacks. But that's not really getting at the heart of the matter. So really, it's a process. And there's lots of folks who want to help. And yeah, so we all want to be resources, right? So just reach out. Same with the student. Reach out to other folks and see what works for them.
Thanks.
All right,
Thanks
thank you very much. Thanks again.
Damos por terminada la sesión de preguntas y agradecemos a Michael Steger por su interesante conferencia.